Hey there, my name is Seon Lewis, and this is a little about myself and about my deconversion story, how I deconvert from being a Christian into becoming an atheist. But first, let me point out that I never knew anything about atheists. Growing up in Grenada, this was a word I never heard of. I never heard of non-belief, agnostic, none of the words that associate with non-belief I grew up hearing. So I grew up Roman Catholic from a younger age. Then my father, my family had a falling out with the Catholic Church. I think it was in the time that we were supposed to be going through that confirmation process. We didn't show up to classes as young boys, and my parents wasn't told of that issue. So that Sunday morning when we were supposed to conform, we went to the church dressed in a white, nice lily white clothes with candles, only to learn that there was no confirmation for us. So my father, got angry and he left the church, and that was the last time I've been into a Catholic church. We left the Catholic church, but we ended up becoming Seven-Days Adventists, and within the Seven-Days Adventist faith, I had a pretty good experience. I had a lot of good friends, but more as I get older, I never learned nothing about critical thinking, never even heard of the word critical thinking. But as I get older, I started asking questions. I started asking questions like, how could a guy walk on water, back in the days? So eventually, hanging out with a lot of the guys who consider themselves Rastafarians and started questioning our Christian faith, I myself began identifying as Rastafarian. I identified myself as Rastafarian for a brief minute. And then I left Rastafarianism. I had a friend that I graduated from high school with. He went to Canada, and then he came back with a set of books, beautiful color books, and pictures of black characters and stuff in it, and it was the United Noami Nation of Mons. And through him, I started reading a lot about African culture, and I become so engulfed in learning about African culture and the contribution of African towards civilization, and that is what kind of get me into that more rational thinking. However, I say more rational thinking because as a Nubian, there is a whole slew of concepts and belief that you have to suspend your rationality to accept. And eventually I was able to leave the Nubian nation when I came to the United States. When I migrated from Grenada to the United States, I was introduced to none other, and I call him the great infidel guy. I mean, he had a big influence on me, and that's the first time I was introduced to atheism. I was introduced to atheism through my wife. She put me onto infidel guy, and through infidel guy, I started listening to a lot of his blog post, audio blog post, and it's through that process of listening, I started buying books and reading more about atheism and what atheism is, secular humanism, what secular humanism is, humanism as a whole. So my conversion story goes through that path, in that I come through the Black Power movement into atheism. And at this point, I consider myself a humanist, and I think humanism is very important as an ethical and moral philosophy. It holds us as human beings responsible for our own actions. It requires us to react and interact with each other in a more humane process and a more humane way. So again, this is a short story of the conversion story into atheism. So I'm looking forward to hear more stories of that sort. Thank you very much.